So there's an issue I have with Genshin for like the longest of time, and it's not necessarily just dropping certain character stories and not necessarily giving them the time of day of screen time or whatever and all that sort of stuff. Like I'm still waiting, Hoyo. I would still very much like to see a Chi-Chi's story quest. I would very much like to see that just because she deserves one. But when it comes down to it, though, I feel like the biggest issue, or at least character wise, that Genshin has when it comes down to their stories and how they kind of interpret things as characters is morality. I don't feel like Genshin does morality in a balanced way. I feel like they do it in a way where it's like, it's fine. I think that's just what Genshin is and that's just how it can be. But in terms of like how Genshin operates in a sort of like morality sort of way, in terms of everything and every character, I do feel like it's a bit weak, right? Because usually it's oftentimes the good guy character wins and the bad guy character loses, and never really challenges the system of their morals really at all. Which I kind of find a bit weird and a bit saddening because there's so many characters that kind of, do the good guy hero thing. But it'll be nice to see if they ever got challenged. Is the way you doing things the right way? Is the way you live life the right damn way? And all that sort of stuff. Because I gotta tell you, there's been multiple times where I'm just like, this has been a good way to, enhance that character to make it go even deeper of their character. But then they never really do, and it's usually wrapped up before you even get the chance to even want something like that to even happen, right? You get rare cases where, it does, but oftentimes, more than not, it's just not necessarily the case. And it makes you want to throw your damn phone into the ocean until a fine ass mermaid come through, it just stole your phone and then start doing only fish. I don't know why, but they just decided to do that. I mean, let's just look across the dang board for 5 seconds. Let's start off with the main character themselves, the Traveler. For my case, I'll choose Lamine for my Traveler. But when it comes down to it though, Lamine is not a good person. Like, yeah, sure, she went out and saved the nations. Yes, she solves different problems and all that sort of stuff, and that's just how it is. But let's just be real. If it was up to her choosing the fact that she could legit leave the whole entirety of Teyvat without any strings attached, take their sibling and kind of just dip off the planet, I have a feeling that they kind of would. At least in the very beginning. I would feel like they would do that shit without any sort of hesitation. Just because they really just want to dip out here. That's kind of the whole damn goal of Genshin. Hey, I need to find my bitch ass sibling for he do something else that's a bit crazy. Oh no, he's in the future. Gosh damn it. And that's just kind of how it is, right? Literally, that's the whole point of the journey. Hell, in the previous quests, or at least the recent quest, I should say, literally they asked, yo, what about us? Why can't we just dip off and leave? That's just kind of how it is, right? Basically, kind of throwing all of that under the damn bus. All the friends that they made under the damn bus, kind of just because they just wanted to get the damn sibling back and call it a damn day. But it's just not that simple, obviously. But the reason why they go about these nations the way they do, I feel like it has to do with one, yes, part of their conscience, but at the very same time, too, they might as well do it. I mean, hell, have you not really seen what people can do in numbers? If people are coming through in numbers and helping each other out, more times than not, you probably could get some good results of what you can actually have, you know? But that's just kind of my mentality on that sort of situation. But I also do feel like too that even though she wants their sibling back, I do feel like they have kind of no choice in the matter to go through all the 7 nations and kind of deal with all the BS when it comes down to it, because they kind of literally is told this multiple times with Paimon, with their sibling, and just all around in general. That's seemingly what they're gonna have to just do. And especially with all the time shenanigans that this recent quest has caused, with New Conria being a thing and they're kind of waiting at New Conria, the sibling is, they kind of have to just complete this journey the way they kind of have to. That's just ultimately how it is, right? So yes, they're going to go and save each nation, they're going to go help out each people, they're going to go make friends and all that sort of stuff. But at the very same time, if they could leave with everything that they wanted, I feel like they would. And that kind of brings in the morality of the Traveler a little bit for me. Which, granted, we've always kind of knew the Traveler was on some weird type of demon time, or at least could be on a type of timeline of selfishness and all that other stuff too. Like, remember the whole quest with Virgil and Fontaine, and remember what happened to him at the end of that quest? Lemmy could have handed him over to the authorities for getting screwed over. She could have done all that stuff. She could have handed over to the Marechaussee Hunters and all that sort of stuff, or whoever the hell running the damn patrols in Fontaine. She could have done that. But you know what she did? She left it all to the hitman. Paimon out here thinking, oh yeah, you're gonna learn your lesson. They're gonna beat your ass a little bit. You're gonna get handed to the authorities and all that sort of stuff. That's gonna be how it is, you know? And that's what Paimon thinking. But Lamine, and this is where I found out, or at least thought about, oh shit, Traveler does not give a damn when it comes down to, you know, getting screwed over like that. For sure. She was on that type of time. And I was like, oh, if she gets you that side eye, you're cooked. That's kind of how I was feeling, right? Because literally she just left it up to the hitman, and the hitman did what the hitman do, and the hitman got his doing of did, and the did of the deeds. And that's just how it was, right? Again, she could have handed it out to the authorities, but she just did not. And that solidified, like, oh, so Lamine isn't all the way good. That's kind of crazy. And then with the damn Stygian onslaught mode, you saw how she was rubbing her hands and being happy, like, yeah, I'm gonna have to kill some Hilichurls in this bitch. You know, it's time. It's time for y'all to understand the anger I have inside me, the darkness that is lurking within my heart. Darkness within darkness awaits me. That's just on some Kingdom Hearts type beat. That's what it feels like. So Lamine isn't always, you know, on that good type of person energy, right? Especially more so now, kind of as the story progressed, she slowly started losing her smile. Even Dia kind of pointed out back in Sumeru that she hasn't been smiling that much and all that sort of stuff. So she hasn't really been having a good time out here. Or at least, you know, she has to let out that darkness in her at some areas and points in time. The only reason why we don't really get a hard focus on it is just because Hoyo will just ignore that sort of thing, which is a bit sad. And that's why sometimes I'm like, man, it'd be cool if like Genshin really sat here and challenged like the Traveler's worldview and all that sort of stuff, or challenges like certain characters within the story, like how they kind of do certain things, right? I kind of wish we had that. There's been very few times where we have seen something like that, or seen people's mentalities and see it change in a way, or see the truth of it, right? Arlecchino is easily one of those people that is like, yeah, you would think she's a bad person, but realistically she's not. But that doesn't necessarily mean she wouldn't do a evil thing, like killing somebody if it's needed to be done, or all that sort of stuff. But she will definitely protect the children that, you know, basically gets in her care. She'll do what she needs to do, as long as the children also, you know, do what they need to do as well, because of the whole Fatui nonsense, right? And very much you get some of that with Skirk too. Like, Skirk isn't evil by any means, but at the very same time, she doesn't necessarily give a shit about weakness. She doesn't really give a damn about all that other stuff. But it took a minute for her to understand that maybe I can let some emotion back in. Maybe I can. I'm not going to change the way I kind of been, but maybe I can be a bit more easier on myself when it comes down to things. Again, a change of mentality, a change of morals is very much nice to see from time to time, but we just don't really get that. And there's, again, stories where you could absolutely do that, but they just don't lead into that sort of field. And it kind of makes me upset a little bit. I'm not gonna sit here and lie. This is exactly why I'm super excited for Krai. Or at least this is where I would like Krai to also kind of dip their toes into the morality sort of situation of the game. Like, someone like Piero is very much perfect for this role, for calling out people trying to do all the good that they want to do, but ultimately might call it, you know, fruitless, basically useless in the end. It doesn't matter what you do because the gods are in control, and all that sort of stuff. I would love to see Traveler try to box Piero, but ultimately fail maybe, because at the end of the day, they're just like, you know, you out here trying to box me, box the Fatui, think we are your actual enemies and all that sort of stuff. And even if you call what we are doing wrong by letting a whole nation get burnt down to the ground because we want to murder the heavenly principles, let me ask you something. You think it's fine that the way this world is and how everything is going, you think that's fine that it's going on the way it needs to? You think it's not necessarily needing anybody to, come through and stick up for themselves? You think the gods should just have everything that's in control? You want to see another disaster like Conria again? Well, let me tell you something. I saw it with my own eyes, and I promise you, it's something you don't want to see again. Like, maybe something like that. Something like that, maybe. Like, Piero basically challenging that, yeah, the Heavenly Principles suck ass, and I don't necessarily like it. Sure, you might get mad at me because I might cause some humans to die or something like that, and if Fatui done some wild and shit, but in the greater scheme of things, I still feel like I'm right. And even if the ending were to happen, where maybe Piero was wrong, and maybe, somehow they lost as a whole when it comes down to the Fatsui and all that sort of stuff, I would still like to see Piero maybe being agreeable with Traveler, but at the very same time, still holding on to that, like, I don't fully trust what you're trying to do here. I still don't like everything that you're about to try to do, because I don't really see a clear way out of that, right? Kind of like how Dane has it, but said outside of Dane being like a blinding asshole idiot person that literally just like, I hate the gods and everything that they are. You a bitch. And you know what? I don't care if you use my memories to make a new Conria. I don't care about any of this stuff. I will always hate the gods and the bitch ass sinners. Like, Dane, you're being used. I don't care if I'm being used. It doesn't matter to me. As long as I get to beat the ass of anybody that's in my way, I'll do whatever it takes. You dumb piece of shit. I ain't gonna lie, Dane piss me off sometimes. I ain't gonna lie. This man's really an unreliable narrator sometimes. I ain't gonna cap. This man out here being a hooligan. But you get the Dane point. And hell, to be honest, I think there's also two more characters that you could possibly do this with, and maybe even more so, maybe three. But I feel like you could do this type of storyline or technique with Alice, Renova, and Columbina. Columbina's already stated to be a weirdo, and her sense of, I guess, like, everything is a bit weird, so you can kind of do something with that. The same thing with Renova and how she kind of operates as the ruler of death, and maybe you can have that if she becomes playable. Please become playable, and literally do something with that. And then at the very same time, with Alice and how much weird shit she done over the course of the time of just Genshin as a whole and the stories about her, and how much shit she's done a bit crazily, I would very much like to see her play moral police in a way, or at least see what her identity is when it comes down to the inside of certain things, right? But going back to someone like Renova more so, because we have, a bit more idea of what Renova actually is compared to someone like Alice and Columbina as a whole, let's just keep it very much a stat. Renova kills people. Not because she deadass hate people, but it's because she has to do so. It is her job. It is the rules of life and death itself that she has to make death a demand. Death has to happen. It just is what it is. You can't necessarily have one thing happen without the opposite effects. That's just how death operates. That's what it is. And even when it comes down to the people of Conrail, yeah, sure, they were using abyssal power, but even then, that's still her doing her damn job of what she has to do. That was basically an order from the Heavenly Principles. I would assume that she has to, curse them with immortality and all that sort of stuff. That's what she had to do, right? Now, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if, when it comes down to the Hilly Trails, maybe they got cursed with the Ruler of Life's stuff, with them changing into beasts and whatever, because genetics and life and biology and all that sort of stuff. But still, at the end of the day, Renova murdering people, or like, not even murdering people, just straight up offing people and doing what she has to do, it is, again, literally her job. It would be cool to see a moment in the story where maybe someone gets mad at Renova for all the shit she done, or even the Conrans get pissed at Renova and all that sort of stuff, but at the end of the day, she's literally just doing her job as a shade. She has to do that sort of thing. You can't just not have death to happen, because death is just a natural occurring thing, right? When it comes down to the world of Genshin, right? So ultimately, I would love to see the mentality of Renova clashing with regular people, even someone like the Traveler, just to kind of show off that, yeah, it's not necessarily always that easy, and the mind of a deity is very much in a different place than, you know, what a normal person would think. Yeah, sure. Does death suck? Do we not want to face that thing? Of course, no one wants to face that shit. Even in real life, death sucks. But at the end of the damn day, that's just how life is. That's just how things naturally occur. Unfortunately or fortunately, depending on your view of it. And that's just how Renova kind of operates. So yes, Traveler could very much be like, yo, I really don't like you doing all this stuff, or somebody in Savannah could say that, but at the end of the day, Renova will just respond, hey, that's literally what I'm supposed to do, right? And again, like I said before in the previous video, like what I said with Vanitas from Kingdom Hearts 3, Vanitas is literally darkness. He's not supposed to be good. He's not supposed to have light somewhere, right? Unless they decide to change it, which I feel like that'd be a cop-out, but still, he's not supposed to have, you know, any sort of good intentions whatsoever. The only intention he is meant to have is to be the darkness of Ventus. That's literally all he's meant to do. He said so in KH3, and that's his whole point of the character. That's what darkness is supposed to be. It's just bad stuff. That's how it is. It's not supposed to be anything else. Saying in Renova's position, she's supposed to cast death. The ruler of life is supposed to cast out with life. The ruler of time is supposed to use time to whatever they need to do. That's literally what they're supposed to do. And look what happened with Osmodee. Osmodee hasn't been in their position. They're not using the space the way they should be, and literally is doing everything else to serve another master more than they even care about themselves. That says a lot. That says a lot. Whether it be Paimon or not, that still says a lot. But my point is, of what I really want to, you know, just nail down here, is just the fact that you have a lot of these characters that exist within Tibet, a lot of these characters that's existing within Genshin as a whole, and it would just be nice to see some ideals getting challenged every now and again, right? Mainly more so on the good guys side, because the villains will always have their ideals challenged and lose, but it would be nice to see the good guys get their ideals challenged and maybe be like, hold up, maybe we gone about this the wrong way. Maybe things ain't right, you know? How crazy would it be if there was a time, if it were to happen, I don't want it to happen, but if it were to happen, where Paimon is revealed to be a fragment of Osmodee, and then essentially Traveler kind of backs away from Paimon because they don't like what they found out about them, and essentially start traveling alone maybe, until later then Paimon can come back. But still, you know, it would be kind of crazy if something like that happens, to challenge again the mindset of two characters, you know, and all that sort of jazz. So again, I do feel like Genshin does have a morality problem and how they sometimes display it, and even sometimes when, you know, just in regular instances when, you know, characters do, you know, be trying to beat the bad guy and they have like, you know, intentions of like just straight up doing the right thing, sometimes the villains do come through with their own reason that's pretty damn solid and understandable. But still, it kind of gets treated like a no, it's an absolute evil sort of thing that you should never really have done, or you should, and all that sort of stuff. It just, and sometimes I ain't gonna lie, sometimes it pisses me off to an extent. Just like, okay, you could at least slacken off a little bit on him, just a little bit about that. I feel like another moment like that too, really quickly, could be also be with Farina too. Really thinking about it, because like Farina still to this day, there was no thank you, there was no we proud of you or anything like that. People were just pissed at Farina for lying about what she needed to literally do, or things would not work out the way it should. But when it comes down to it though, no one ever thanked Farina for her service and her work and all that sort of stuff. People just moved the hell on and then proceed to give her a shitty story quest, which I still am pissed about to this damn day, by the way. So again, there's a lot of moments and instances where morality and how characters get treated in that sort of way kind of just gets shitted on in the weirdest way and don't really get touched upon. And I want Genshin to fix that so damn bad. I do. I know certain areas they won't do it, but I would like to see it get challenged in some damn way. That's just me though. But again, hopefully you did enjoy this one. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification on your way out, also on my socials. And if you'd like to donate to the channel, Kofi and Cash App is available as well. And until next time, boy Jay, sign off. Have a blessed day.